Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another webinar here with Waugh from Musgrave Minerals. I'm Aidan Lane, one of the investment managers here at Fortem Wealth. This webinar is presented by Jackson Securities. Rob, how are you this morning?
Yeah, really good, Aidan. Good to be here.
Perfect, Rob. So for the viewers, the webinar today will run as such. We'll have a short presentation from Rob giving an overview of the company and how things are going at the moment. From there, I'll ask Rob some planned questions, and then we'll take questions from the floor. For the viewers, you have an opportunity to ask the questions and type them in. We'll endeavour to answer as many as possible. We might not get around to answering all of them today. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to pass anything on to Rob or answer them myself. So Rob, do you want to take it away with the presentation now?
Yeah, not a problem. Welcome everyone. Just give you an update on Musgrave Minerals. So we're a gold company in Western Australia and really focused on that pre-development stage of the operation. So advanced exploration and heading towards growing the resource base. So I'll just take you through the presentation. It'll be about 20 minutes, and then as Aidan mentioned, we'll have some questions. So so you can see the process for us and the objectives going forward are threefold. So we're planning to systematically test targets to deliver really growth in the resource base. So we want to be able to grow the resource base and at a relatively modest to high grade, and that's what we've been seeing in the past at Q, and that's what we want to be able to continue. We've also commenced pre-feasibility level studies at Breaker Day and Lena. So they're two of our existing deposits. So what we want to do is capture and progress some of the long lead time items to get a bit of a head start towards getting a mining proposal through. So that includes environment, heritage, access, water, all these things that take a bit of time, and also take you need some baseline information. So information pre-development over a period of 12 months or thereabouts before you can commence these activities. So that's what we started to do. We've also got a joint venture with Evolution over part of our ground. That's an important JV, and that covers the Salt Lake component of the land we hold around Q. So as far as the corporate overview goes, you can see the project location in the top right-hand corner of the image. We're about 7 hours or 650 odd kilometres north of Perth. So it's right on that Great Northern Highway that links Perth with the Pilbara, halfway between Mount Magnet and Meekatharra. Share price reasonably stable there at around the 43-cent mark. We trade and liquidity at about 1 million shares a day, so we're reasonably liquid. We have over $20 million in cash, another couple of million in equities held from legacy in a number of companies, Legend and Cyprium, who we have joint ventures with. Our major shareholders are fairly strong, have been with us for quite a long time. We can see HSBC, which are made up of a number of components, including 1832. In Invesco out of North America, so gold funds. We have Westminex and Genesee, and Evolution, our joint partner on the Salt Lake at Q, is also a major shareholder in us. You can see from the share price graph here as well for the last 12 months, the Starlight discovery, very high grade, near surface, in an area obviously at Q where we have good infrastructure. We had some of the highest grades in the whole of the world last year announced from the Q deposit there, the Starlight discovery. We also saw a bit of a lag in the market. So the market took a few months from that point to recognise that discovery before we had a bit of a share price kick up. And that coincided with some more really high grade hits at Starlight, but also a rising gold price. Subsequent to sort of that, in late September, we had the resource announcement. And then we had a bit of a drop in the gold price over the last few months, and our share price has followed that. We've just seen a little bit of a kick upwards over the last 6 weeks in the gold price. Obviously last night slightly different, just a little bit of a resettling last night. But we've just had over the last couple of weeks a discovery at Big Sky. We think that has the potential to add resources to our inventory. We're still early stages. We're still at an air core drilling level. We're RC drilling at the moment. We're waiting for a lot of assays to come back from the lab. But we think too, this has potential to add to the resource base that we currently hold, and it will be an important component going forward. Touching on some of the existing resources at Break of Day and the discovery last year at Starlight. High grade, as you can see, we've got a 10-gram ore body at Break of Day, and the Starlight is part of that ore body, sitting at about 14 grams. It's near surface. Some of the intersections are only 3 meters below surface, so very close to surface, so very little stripping of waste before we get to ore. That's important because any development then can basically be processing ore very quickly, which means payback of capital can happen very quickly, and so you don't have a huge drawdown in cash early on without producing gold. So that's a very positive outcome. It's made up of 5 lodes. 85% of the resources at Break of Day are included in those 5 lodes, and the main lodes are the black and yellow hatch zones. You can see in there the hatch lines, and the other lodes are the yellow lines. Just a little bit further to the northwest, we can see the Lena deposit. Lena is also part of our inventory. It's around 325,000 ounces of gold and around 2.3 grams, and just from surface as well. So very little strip, and again, that's important because you can return investment and the return of capital very early on in the project's development. At Break of Day, this just gives you a bit of a 3D look at what the ore bodies look like. And the drilling patterns you can see through Lena and Break of Day, Lena in yellow, Break of Day in orange. And some of those really high grade intersections we had at Break of Day and Lena, including the 14 meters, 190 grams per ton from 4 meters below surface. So very high grade ore body, very close to surface, and quite unique. Most people have been talking about ore bodies being under cover and under significant thicknesses of cover, and that will be the next discoveries. But we're proving that it's not always the case. Here we've got about 3 meters of what we call hard pan clay over the top. So it's only 3 meters of cover before you get into the ore. From the discovery at Starlight last year, the Starlight lode or ore body is actually at quite a high angle to what we thought the mineralisation or the mineralised trend was prior to that. So what that enabled us to do was geologically look back through our data and reinterpret some of the geology. So this image is quite complex, but it's a gravity image. It's depicting the density of rocks below the surface, which helps us to really target the rock type, but also target the structure, and the structure is quite commonly controlling the gold lodes. So from that, we were able to identify roughly around 25 new targets. We put early phase drilling across all 25. 20 of those new targets had gold. 6 of the 20 had very high grade gold, and we're following those up as we speak. We've got a 15,000 metre drilling program, RC drilling program happening at the moment, and that's testing targets like White Heat, Big Sky, and also target 14. And they're the 3 highest priorities we have as far as regional targets go at the moment. So we're continuing to work these targets and getting good results, and I'll take you through some of those results. The first one we'll touch on is White Heat, and that's just here. So Break of Day and Lena discoveries are this yellow star, and just 300 metres south we made the new one at White Heat. You can see Break of Day and Lena up here in the top right hand corner of this image, and then the new discovery at White Heat down here where we've got the highlight boxes in the intercept grades. So again, it's only 2 to 3 meters of cover over the top, so it's just enough to disguise it from explorers in the past and prospectors. So no one's been able to identify and find this mineralization. We've come in, we've tested some of our new theories on targeting and drilled this and made this new discovery here at Whiteheat. You can see there some good grades. It's a modest size, but we think this will very close to surface and good grade. We can add this resource to the inventory over the next 6 months as we continue to drill these things out. It's still open down plunge at Whiteheat, and as I mentioned too, it's very close to Break of Day and Lena. On a regional sense, we just stepped back out again, and we're looking at target 14. You can see the 3 white circles there are 3 highest priority targets: Whiteheat, target 14, and Big Sky. And some of the numbers we've been getting through early stage air core drilling and a couple of early stage RC holes. Target 14 area there is part of the new gold corridor. So it's a 7-kilometre long corridor. It runs parallel to the Lena Break of Day corridor, which is where the existing mineralisation is. This is the Lena Break of Day corridor running through here. And we've got a deposit here at Numbers, or one at Leviticus, and this is the new discovery at Whiteheat, Break of Day and Lena through here. And if we step out about 900 metres further to the west, this is the new corridor. So it's running parallel under shallow cover. Again, we're only looking at 3 to 6, 7 metres of cover under most of it, and just enough to not be able to see things from surface, but not detrimental to any future development. But good results here in this zone at target 14, 11 at 8, 24 at 3, very early stage. We're drilling there at the moment. And then this big target here, Big Sky, 2.6 kilometres long, anomalous over that whole distance. And you can see some of the numbers we're getting through there at early stage drilling: 5 at 42, 9 at 6.8, 2 at 21, 24 at 2.5. So you compare these numbers to sort of the average open cut mining grade for the last 12 months in Australia, which is sitting in roughly around that 1 to 1.2 grams per tonne in average open cut mining grade. So we're significantly higher than that. The average underground mining grade is roughly around 4.6 grams per tonne in underground mining in Australia over the last 12 months. So you can see that that's comparatively where we're sitting relative to average grades in the industry. So these are very, very positive results. Just touching a bit more on Big Sky, 2.6 kilometres long. We've got 50 RC drill holes into this now. We're waiting for those assays to come back. So the assays at labs have been a little bit delayed of late with the results turnaround. But we're looking forward to some of those results coming back within the next few weeks. Again, you can see we've got a number of light structures. You can see the plan view, 1.6 long strike. And then we've got a cross section. So the cross section is a vertical section across the zone of mineralisation. And there you can see 2 vertical red zones there. Again, at this stage, we're really only drilling the clay zone, so the top sort of 60 odd metres. But good results in that. And obviously that's the first material that potentially will be mined in the future. And it all, you can see it coming up there depicted in that image up to within a couple of metres of surface, where you can see that yellow strip, which is the transported cover. Again, just enough to disguise it for previous explorers. Target 14. Target 14 here is only roughly around 800 metres from Whiteheat, sitting up here. Break of Day is up in the top corner of the image, and we're just looking at this area here at target 14. But it looks like we're getting a potential strike of the total mineralisation or total zone of anomalism at target 14 about 3 k's, but the high grade zone is about 200 metres long at the moment. And you can see those numbers there from early stage drilling, 11 at 8, 24 at 3, including 9 at 6, and 9 at 1.1, 39 at 0.6, and potentially 3 zones of mineralisation we're seeing in this target 14 area. 3 sub-vertical zones, and all within roughly around 150 to 200 metres area. So very positive early stage results. We're continuing to follow these up as well. We've got another sort of 14 drill holes at target 14 that we're waiting for. And it's probably, again, probably 3 weeks away from seeing some of these numbers come through from the lab from the recent drilling. We've done some metallurgical test work on the existing deposits. That has been very positive, 96, 99% recoverable gold in conventional CIL, so carbon and leach. So conventional gravity component of that recovery also has been very positive, with 70 to 80% gravity recovery. And the CIL overall recoveries, we talk about that 96 to 99, but gravity is the first component of that. So gravity is the thing which is pre-chemical, which is just purely gravity settling, and to get a lot out in that early stage is very positive. And you can see this is just a pan sample, the white in a gold pan, a typical gold pan. So that's roughly around, the dimensions of that is roughly around 40 centimeters across, that image. The widest quartz, you can see the gold all through here. So fine gold, then you're getting coarse nuggets. These nuggets are roughly around 2 millimeters across. And obviously panning is a very manual, small scale gravity recovery method. The other really positive thing about our project area is the infrastructure in the area. So we're in an area where there's really strong infrastructure. We're in a very historically positive mining jurisdiction. First mining here was in 1895 at Kew. We're halfway, you can see there, roughly halfway between Mount Magnet and Meekatharra, right on that Great Northern Highway. The purple area is Kew, the Kew project, Musgrave's tenure, and the Bracken Day and Lena discoveries in there. Operating mills, the tags and the labels you can see. There's an operating mill at Mount Magnet. There's one at Takiana to the north. Both of those are only 40 kilometres from our existing project at Kew. Those circles are 40-kilometre concentric rings, just to give you an idea of distance. Additional mills up at Bluebird near Meekatharra, at Dalgaranga, the Gascoyne mill about 70 kilometres or 60 kilometres as the crow flies to the west, and Silver Lake further over. So trucking gold and gold ore on the Yilgarn is quite common in Western Australia. Ramelius, who operate at Mount Magnet, currently truck ore or part of their ore from Vivian mine out near Leinster, which is 300 kilometres further to the east, at 6.5 gram oxide, and they truck that in to be processed at the Mount Magnet mill. As on a corporate level, Musgrave is striving for a standalone operation, but we do know we have multiple processing facilities in the district, so there are potentially other options for us. We have a strong joint venture with Evolution. I'll take you through that in a moment, and we also have a pretty good Aussie gold price as we speak, so sitting well above the 2,400 mark in Aussie dollar terms. On the Evolution joint venture. So the green, this is our tenement package and the bottom half of our tenure. The green areas are 100% Musgrave. They host the existing resource. These are not in joint venture with anyone. These are just held by Musgrave, those green areas. The yellow and orange areas are in JV with Evolution. So Evolution, Australia is the largest miner, gold miner. And we have a really good positive relationship with Evolution. We're managing that joint venture on the ground operationally with very strong technical input from Evolution. Evolution carried out a 48,000 metre air core program to look for anomalism under the lake, and we've just gone through a 7 diamond hole program to test some of the basement mineralisation from those air core drilling, the air core drilling on that image. The red dots obviously are the high grade zones we're seeing, and the green dots still anomalous as well. So we've done 7 diamond holes in those areas. They're big targets. They're 3 to 5 kilometres long. It's early stage. We're waiting for those assays to come through. But some of the work that Musgrave's done prior to the JV with Evolution has been very positive as well, with some results there you can see at Lake Austin North. And this is some of the work that really attracted Evolution to the joint venture. 94 metres at 2.2 and 84 at 1.7 with high grade components at 20 odd metres at 6 and 29 at 5. So a big scale system, Evolution, a big scale target, and they have a joint venture with us. It's $18 million over 5 years. They've met their minimum commitment of 4 in the first 2, and we're looking forward to progressing that joint venture. Our work program going forward has been quite intensive. We've got RC drilling happening at Big Sky and Target 14. That's follow-up drilling. If that's positive, we'll head towards resource definition work. We've got air core drilling happening and regional targets we're processing through. We continue to get that pipeline of new targets going so we can add to the resource base. We're doing resource drilling work at White Heat. We hope to do more resource conversion work at Break of Day and Lena to continue to convert inferred resources to indicated and get them closer to being mineable. We've got the Evolution JV, as we mentioned. We're waiting for diamond drilling results. And we started pre-feasibility level studies. As I mentioned, these really looking at these long lead time items. We're running the integration at the same time, because what we want to do is make sure we can get these long lead time items commenced, which are baseline over environment, heritage and water, as I mentioned, and that'll give us a head start towards future mining. So all in all, just to summarise, we've got an existing strong resource base, so that we have that existing resource base that can underpin the value of our stock at the moment. We have a very high-grade deposit at Break of Day, very close to surface, that should have really good margin. So obviously margin relate to profit. So we're not a marginal ore body here. This is very high grade. And that obviously can withstand fluctuating gold price. We have the opportunity for further discovery. We're proving that through quite a lot of success in the exploration front. We have a joint venture with Evolution over part of our ground. Evolution also being a shareholder in us. We have a lot of activity in news flow, so we're expecting results from RC drilling at White Heat, Target 14, Big Sky. We've got diamond drilling underway at Break of Day and Lena as well. We also have the Evolution diamond drilling assays pending. And on the background to that is a pretty good, strong gold price environment. So Aidan, I'll hand back to you for questions, but thanks very much for all the listeners that are taking part in the webinar today.
Well, perfect. Thanks for that, Rob. It's been a great overview of the company, and yeah, it provides us a good springboard to speak a little bit deeper about what's going on. So, firstly, just in regards to the pre-feasibility study, why have you decided to start that now?
Yeah, so rather than sort of name it a pre-feasibility study as such, what we want to do, as I mentioned, is really get a head start on a lot of the long lead time items. So we talk about it as pre-feasibility level studies. So the work that will be required to eventually get to mining at Break of Day and Lena, but what we want to do at the same time is do a lot of exploration, and we're focusing on that at the same time, and that will grow the resource base. So, but to get a head start, we know that some of these mining developments take a little bit of time. You need to get 12 months of baseline data, and we want to start that early. So that's the intent of the pre-feasibility level studies, is to making sure there are no hiccups down the track, no surprises later on, and the deposits we do have, what we think are economic, we can get these long lead time items ticked off. We will, it'll be a really focus around that, but the focus on results from exploration will be a key, because we think we can build the resource base from exploration as well, and that will be the next trigger into further pre-feasibility level work.
Yeah, no, that's very a fair approach to have to get that going and get yourself rolling there, while continuing to explore. So on the exploration side of things, there's a bit of a shortage in the labour supply in WA at the moment. Is that affecting you guys at all?
Yeah, look, without a doubt, it definitely is. As examples, we've got all the rigs we need at the moment drilling, but we've had to really plan 3 to 4 months ahead. So the last rig that's arrived, we ordered 3.5 months ago to arrive now. So it's a lot more planning. And the other difficulty you have is that if there's long delays in RC results, it's hard to plan ahead when you don't know what the results will be. So, and those delays of between drilling the holes, getting enough sample together to batch it, get it on a truck, get it down to Perth, and then get the assays back. they've significantly, they've almost doubled, I guess, over the last sort of 18 months. So it does delay you somewhat, and you definitely have to plan a lot further ahead. There are also other resourcing issues we find with not just drill rigs. It's also drilling companies have trouble getting crew to run their rigs, and the same for us as explorers. It's more difficult finding geologists. It's more difficult finding field technicians, and it's that labour shortage, because whenever the industry was booming in the past, we'd be able to source people from overseas or interstate, and now the interstate travel is a bit more restrictive, and overseas travel is non-existent. Those avenues are not available to us, so it is a little bit more challenging, but we're all working through it, and we think we're doing reasonably well so far.
No, yeah, that's good. I think everyone in the same space is having the same trouble, so it's good to see that you guys aren't sort of feeling it worse than anyone else as well. And then just quickly, in regards to the copper play at Holland Air, what sort of allocation of resources are you placing there?
So that's a joint venture with Cyprium. So Musgrave has 100% of the gold deposit only rights to that ground. We joint ventured the copper rights off to Cyprium. And the copper there is 80% Cyprium, 20% Musgrave. So Cyprium are managing and running that program. So really, we're taking a back seat and have a 20% free carried on the copper side. So again, it's not draining our resource base and our resources to manage that. So Cyprium are doing that, and we've got a good relationship with them. So we're happy to continue in that regard on the copper space side.
Okay, no, that's good to know as well. And then just quickly, in regards to your other joint venture with Evolution, obviously a major shareholder, as you've said, and you've spoken about having a good relationship with them. Is there any sort of further insight into the relationship you have as both a joint venture and as shareholders?
Look, I think it's great to have Evolution. Evolution have a good relationship, as I mentioned. They've been a shareholder now for a couple of years, so they've also seen an appreciation in the share price from when they first got involved, and they've benefited from that. They have a really strong technical background. Evolution do some great geos and a lot of input in the program. So we're very pleased with that relationship, and they bring a lot to the table. So obviously they've got a really strong balance sheet as well. And a very strong reputation and good reputation in the mining space. So we're really pleased to have them. The relationship's been good, and we're hoping to continue it.
Okay. And then in regards to your current rate of drilling and exploring, how long until you'd sort of need to raise capital again?
Look, we've got 20+ million in the bank at the moment. At the moment, over the next 9 months, we're expecting to spend roughly around $1 million a month. So that really puts us through to sort of March next year, having well over 10 or 12 million still in the bank. So we don't expect to be able to need to raise money in the short to medium term at all. So what we have is sufficient to keep us going, and that'll be able to deliver resource growth, but also complete all the work we're doing at that pre-feasibility level study work as well. So there's no requirement to go back to the market to raise capital in the short to medium term at all.
Okay, and so just to clarify, that $1 million a month, is that for the whole project, or is it just for the exploration side of things?
Yeah, no, that's for the whole project. So that's both the exploration that Musgrave are committed to, and also the PFS level work as well. So so it's still very positive for us in that we're doing a lot of work. We have multiple rigs out turning, but also we're managing that finance.
Yeah, thank you for that, Rob. And then looking forward, when do you think realistically is a time that the mine could go into production?
Yeah, and look, we're trying to shortcut anything we can, and that's why we're doing some of these long lead time items at pre-feasibility level. To try and shortcut any of those things we can do. Noting that the normal stage for development is exploration, resource growth, pre-feasibility, then full bankable feasibility, and then development. And development obviously means it can be twofold. If you're doing a standalone development, you're building a plant. If you're not building a plant, then you're just effectively putting a small camp and digging a hole. So a minimum probably you're looking at for those type of series of items to get through PFS, DFS, and construction, you're looking at a couple of years. If we can shortcut any of that and have anything overlapping, which is what we're trying to do at the moment, is overlap resource growth and some of the PFS work. So we can try and shortcut a little bit of that. So, but look, you're looking at really around a couple of year time frame to get into production.
Sure. And Rob, from your perspective, it would be sort of easy to sort of work out maybe on a general perspective why you'd be rushing to get this into, development stage. Do you think that there's, some questions to ask around pushing for that rather than focusing on exploration entirely, or having the pre-feasibility study and exploration at the same time? Can you give us some insight into the executive decision that was made there to pursue both, rather than just grow the resource?
I think there's a number of factors involved in that, and really one of the ones is to ideally make a project decision around development of a project as being as bulletproof as possible. So you want to make sure you're doing everything right, but also you want to make sure that the margin that you create when you make a decision about development can withstand a fluctuating gold price over the life of the mine. So and to do that, we think we've got good growth. And now it's about sustaining that production cycle over a significant period of time, sort of that 5 to 10 year cycle time. So you want to really make a project bulletproof, and is what I'm saying. And so to do that, you've got to make sure you tick all the boxes and you do all those steps in the right order and systematically, and don't try and rush things because the market is telling you something in the short term. If we all knew the outcome of what the market really was going to do over the next few years, life would be very straightforward, but it's not like that. It's more complex, and you can't always predict what's going to happen in the future. So we try and make things as bulletproof as possible over a longer term.
Yeah, no, understandable. And we'd be sitting in a different situation if we knew what was going to happen, in the next 3 years. This conversation potentially wouldn't be happening, and all the investors would be in Musgrave regardless. And then just quickly, what do you think the biggest challenges Musgrave will face in the next 12 months?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think some of the things we're seeing at the moment is we were all hoping that borders, I think, would open up sooner and that we'd get a better control of COVID-19, and effectively, ideally, we have to deal with it or go away. It's not appearing to be the case, and things are looking like they'll be restrictive for longer than we initially anticipated. So really, one of the challenges will be manpower over a longer term period, rather than particularly maybe just 6 to 12 months. But I think that'll be a longer term challenge for the industry as a whole, not just for Musgrave. So that's something we need to really look at and consider over a longer term. And really, the ideal from that perspective is if you are in a restricted pool of people with restricted skill sets within that pool, is what can you do to make your company attractive? We think we have a really good project, and that's obviously a good point. We have good culture within the group. That's another good point. And you want to make your company an attractive place to work. So we're hoping to do that, and we think we're heading in the right direction to do that and attract good people. So that is one of the challenges. Obviously, fluctuating gold prices and fluctuating commodity prices is a consistent challenge that we deal with throughout numerous cycles over the last 30 years. And I've been in the industry now for over 30 years, and we've seen that multiple times. Commodities prices are cyclical, and we expect that to not be any different in the future. That's again another reason why we try and make our projects as bulletproof as possible and as high margin as we can.
Yeah, that's very fair enough considering the situation. It's good to see that you're well aware of that, and you're doing everything in your power to control that in regards to labour. And obviously the gold price, you're looking to take advantage of that currently by progressing things. But that being said, a lot of that's out of your control, and you have to focus on what you can control. And then you've spoken about some of the drilling results you're looking to put out in a couple of weeks, or in the next few weeks. And then as a whole, I think that in the short term, Musgrave is positioned to create value for shareholders through those drilling results. And then in the long term, through the feasibility study and then development. Is considering those two things, is there anything else that you think that Musgrave is doing to create value for shareholders?
Yeah, I think that the other thing that there's a real focus for us is grade and margin. So we're trying to separate ourselves from the pack by grade, having a good high grade deposit, and then looking at mineralisation that's close to surface as well. So what we've been able to do is find the deposits we currently have and really drill them to roughly that 300, 350 metre depth level. So we do think that these things will continue at depth, but rather than keep chasing them down deep where mining can be more expensive, we're focusing again on making new discoveries close to surface where your exploration costs are lower and also your development costs are likely to be lower going forward. So that's key for us, and a really strong focus going forward for us will be margin, and margin obviously has a close link to profit.
Okay, that's very good to see, Rob. And now we'll move to live questions from the floor. So we have the first question here is, what makes Musgrave different to other exploration and mining companies?
Yeah, again, I sort of touched on that briefly, and really around margin. So for us, there are a lot of 1 gram ore bodies around, a lot of companies exploring and developing 1 gram per tonne ore bodies. For us, it's around, as I talked about, it's around margin and profit. And if we can keep our grade high, we can then effectively, get more bang for buck and return a better profit and margin to shareholders when we get through to that development stage. So again, strong focus on grade. We're in an area where we do have good grade, and rather than having a big tonnage operation, the focus for us again will be on a lower tonnage but higher grade, and that's what we want to be able to differentiate ourselves within the market.
Okay, thanks for that, Rob. We'll move to the next question now. So this question is in regards to the labour shortage. Effectively, it's asking, how have you gone at recruiting staff previous to COVID? And is there anything you're doing similar to get the right talent in and present yourselves better? Or is it just a matter of putting your best foot forward?
Yeah, it is a bit of both. So, obviously it always is about putting your best foot forward, but also I think having a strong project, having a good culture within the group, remunerating fairly, and sort of within the standard without trying to do too much, but also really just having an attractive project and a good team in place, and it does make people want to come and join. Again, as the individual with the question there does think, we are in a restricted pool of resources and talent, so we do need to go out there. One thing we have seen is there is definitely less short-term contract people available. We used to have to pay more and be able to get people on short-term contract, but people want a lot more longer-term security these days, which sometimes with drilling programs where you might have 3 rigs on site for 3 or 4 months and then 1 rig on site for the next couple of months, makes it more difficult to have that steady stream of numbers within your group over a longer term. But we manage that, and we're trying to level out our drilling programs to have the rigs there consistently over a longer period of time, rather than be too intense and then lower off and then intense again.
Yeah, thanks for that, Robin. That's good to see that you guys are aware of that as a business and making sure that you have the right culture around it, and are looking to look after your staff to make sure you can keep staff there, obviously, but be able to bring new ones in. We'll move on to the next question now. So this question is, it's in regards to the grade of gold. So the person is asking, you've spoken a lot about the high grade of gold. What does that actually mean?
So the higher the grade effectively means there's more gold in less volume of rock. So you're getting more gold in less volume of rock. So you process in the plant the same amount of rock, but you get more gold out. So your mining costs might be the same, and your processing costs might be the same, but the output is higher. So you're getting more gold out. So if you get more gold out, it means you're making more money. Effectively for the same amount of rock that you're processing. So So that's the benefit of having a higher grade. Means higher grade then means more profit. So yeah, that's that positive balance.
Yeah, and it obviously allows you to reduce your margins and, put you in a better position to continue exploring or allocate those resources elsewhere. So that's very good to see. And then I've just got a question in regards to the share price. This person is asking, when would you expect to see, movement in the share price based off the exploration and PFS? Obviously a hard question to sort of ask considering, but is there any insight that you have there?
Look, unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that question because if I could predict the market, I'd be saying the same thing that would happen for us, that would happen for every other company, and it's not the way it is. Sometimes I will look at the market and company share price will move, and I've got no idea why. And they might put good results out and they'll move backwards. The price will move backwards. They might put no results out and the price will go up, and I've got no idea what's happening and why. And the same goes for Musgrave. I can't predict what the future share price will be, but to be perfectly honest, we try not to. What we try and do is really focus on the things we can control, ideally, which is where we drill the holes, how we plan the holes, how do we recruit people. I think if it's around the detail. If you do all the detail correct, then there might be some short-term fluctuation in gold price and share price, but overall, in the longer term, I think the company will do well.
Yeah, thank you for answering that, Rob. And I'll just go with one last question before we finish up. We've just got a question in regards to the key people over at Musgrave and what their role that they have and how they're going to bring out shareholder value.
Yeah, so the key people really are all of us. So, from the board above me and with me on the board through to myself and then the exploration team and all the way through from administrative staff to people on the ground, sampling, and our contractors as well. So we value everyone within the company, and everyone has a specific task and role within that. So we think that integration is key, and how everyone works together as one team to deliver what the company wants and what we want going forward. So that's critical. Everyone has a part to play, and we try not to put too much emphasis on individuals, but more as a team going forward, and we share that burden.
Okay, no, that's good to see, and maybe there's a few people watching who are looking to join the team, and you're selling the business well in terms of the culture that you're creating there as well. So maybe we get a few workers on some of those exploration projects as well. We might leave it there for today. There's a few more questions, but just for time's sake, we'll do our best to answer those via email. If you reach out to me, I'm Aidan Lane at Fortem Wealth. My email should be in the invitation. And then if there's any questions I can't answer, I'm happy to pass it on to Rob. And Rob, I'm sure if you're happy to follow up with me, we can ask some of those questions and pass them back. We can set that up as well. And Rob, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great introduction to what Musgrave's doing now and what you're looking to do in the future. We think the company's sort of positioned very well in the current market, and we're excited to see where you could go in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Aidan. Always great to chat and look, I appreciate the opportunity that Fortem has given me to speak today. So thanks very much, and thanks for everyone for listening.
All right, thank you to our viewers as well for tuning in for another Fortem Wealth Port Jackson webinar here with Musgrave Minerals. Thanks again to Rob for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar.
Thanks, everybody.